We all know that when it comes to the internet that cats reign supreme, with millions of images, videos, and memes celebrating its various qualities, such as independence, curiosity, indifference, and sheer inscrutability. There's no doubt that cats are pretty cool, except when it comes to loyalty. Unfortunately, that's one quality that doesn't quite make the list. Let's face it, a cat isn't going to miss you too much when you're gone. A loner by nature, it might find your absence an inconvenience, but it won't take the cat long to get over it and move on. No, if you're looking for loyalty and devotion, then there's only one place to look, and that's to man's best friend, the dog. To illustrate the point, here are 5 heartbreaking stories of loyalty of dogs who've waited for their owners. Number 1. The story of Argos. Stories of the incredible bond between dog and man go back a long time. In fact, Homer's Odyssey tells the tale of Argos, the loyal pooch who waited 2 decades for his master Odysseus to return from the Trojan War. When Odysseus did finally return, he snuck back into his house disguised as a beggar. It's a bit of a long story. Anyway, Argos was the only one who realized his true identity, but due to his age, was unable to stand to greet his master, instead summoning all his strength to drop his ears and wag his tail, happy to see his return. Tragically, in order to maintain his disguise, Odysseus had to ignore the loyal dog, who sadly then dropped dead. Number 2. GREYFRIARS Bobby. If you ever visit Edinburgh, Scotland, then you are likely to come across a popular tourist attraction in the form of a monument called GREYFRIARS Bobby. Bobby was a 19th century Skye Terrier whom belonged to John Grey, a night watchman for the Edinburgh City Police at the time. When John Grey died, he was buried in Greyfriars Kirkyard, the graveyard surrounding Greyfriars Kirk in the old town of Edinburgh. Bobby then became known locally, spending the rest of his life, which lasted for 14 years, sitting at the man's grave until he himself died in 1872. Number 3. Shep. Shep was a dog, possibly an Australian Shepherd, who loitered around the Great Northern Railway station in Fort Benton, Montana in the 1930s. According to legend, Shep first came to the train station when his dead owner's body was loaded into a carriage to be transported back to the eastern United States for burial. Shep seemed distressed as the train pulled away and waited for his master to return. The station employees took care of Shep and he lived in and around the station, becoming well known to everyone who passed through. A few years into his time at the station, Shep and his story was featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not. Shep kept this daily vigil for almost 6 years until he was sadly run over by a train on January 12, 1942. A sculpture devoted to Shep is located on the bank of the Missouri River in Fort Benton. Number 4. Fido. In the early 1940s, Italian worker Carlo Soriani adopted an injured street dog and named him Fido, from the Latin word for faithful. The name was well chosen. Every day, Fido accompanied Soriani to the street in the Tuscan town of Borgo San Lorenzo, where he caught the bus to work, and met him there at the end of the day. The dog kept doing this even after Soriani was killed by bombs in World War II. Fido trekked to the bus stop every day for the next 14 years until his death in 1958. Fido was written about in many Italian and international magazines and newspapers, appeared in newsreels throughout Italy, and was bestowed several honours, including a public statue erected in his honour. Number 5. Hachiko. Finally, there is the story of Hachiko. Hachiko was an Akita owned by Hideo Saburo Uno, a professor at the University of Tokyo. Every day, the dog met Uno at Shibuya Station on his return home from work, until 1925, when the professor died of a fatal brain hemorrhage. Not knowing his master had died, Hachiko waited at the train station every day for nearly a decade, until his death in 1935. 90 years after Professor Uno was suddenly killed, he and Hachiko were finally reunited in a statue erected at the University of Tokyo. So, there you have it. 5 incredible and heartbreaking stories of dogs who loyally waited for their owners. What did you think about that cat? Anyways, that's all for now, but be sure to subscribe to InfobytesTV for more great and interesting videos to come.